Hey, good morning, good afternoon, and good night, whatever time of day you might be viewing this. But welcome to the 2021 iTip Ohio Virtual Google Summit. You can get my website through the bit.ly link. Let me get this in present mode. So it's build an app with the B and the A capitalized. You'll find all the information there at my site. Currently, as I'm speaking, I still got to put this video up there, but it'll be there by the time you view it. My name is Travis Wood. I'm a career technical technology specialist at the Southwestern City School District in Grove City, Ohio. I work with 17 of our career technical programs here in the district, helping assist them with technology and their needs as they come. But today I'm happy to talk to you about building an app prototype using Google Slides. So basically what happened is our middle school programs began to offer an intro to app development program. We actually used iPads for this, and we used Swift Playgrounds along with the Swift programming language. From here, they used Keynote to build an app prototype. We actually had an app showcase where the kids were able to showcase their apps. So basically, it's a challenge-based learning opportunity. So they were posed with a challenge that the community faced, and they thought, what could an app do to help solve that challenge or that problem that they faced? So they built their ideas within Keynote. So that was our first year. But then, of course, COVID hit and the pandemic hit, and we had to go remote. We are an actual Google school, so we did not have enough iPads to send home to those students, but each student did have a Chromebook. So we hurried up and we switched over to Google Slides, and we were able to build those app prototype right into Google Slides, just as if we did in Keynote. And then we had a virtual app showcase that we did through Google Meet, and everything turned out just great. So that's what I'm going to share with you today, is using Google Slides to build an app prototype. But let me just first show you real quick. I'm going to come over here, and I'm using dual screen so you kind of see me look back and forth here. I want to share with you our app showcase. So I'm going to play this real quick. It's short, only about a minute or two. So we have six middle schools, that participated within this. And so each student was set up at a table where they presented their apps to the public. So parents came in, we had judges that came in, and they rotated around to each app. The students loved and enjoyed sharing what they were able to come up with, and showed how they could move through those apps. And even on site, we had our MeBot robots and our Sphero robots, which can be programmed with an iPad or a Chromebook. And you'll see later in the video where one of the students was programming the MeBot to dance. We gave out awards to the best design, the best app, and the best pitch. And these are the MeBots. And you can see the girls programming this one to dance, and the father there is enjoying watching her do this. And that was it. Just a quick short video of our app showcase that we had. We're going to come back over to the actual Google slide and start to get into the development. So first off, I'm just going to walk you through this. And one thing is, during the setup of your app, and we'll go over this a little bit later, but there is a custom dimension that we want to go through. So that way, and I'm bringing it up on my phone, when you load the prototype up on a phone, I'm going to hold this up here, it kind of takes up the screen of the normal size of a phone. And even if I click over, you're going to see some of the icons that fit perfectly within that phone. So that's all during the custom setup. But I'm going to kind of walk through this slideshow. So basically what we're doing with our Google Slides is we are utilizing icons, and you want to think of things that an app could do that a simple website cannot. So you do want to incorporate different things, like think about the VR, think about location, GPS, notifications, using the camera and the microphone within it. So those are all things that you can think about in incorporating in an app design, especially when you are facing a challenge. So again, we're talking about challenge-based learning. You can see when I hover over this that it turns into the finger pointer, showing that those are linked. So each of these icons are linked to take you to different places within the app. So let me go ahead and, so for example, I'm going to click on challenge-based learning. So what we did is we've had our big idea of the community, and our essential question was, how can you use app design to solve challenges in your community? And then, of course, they had to come up with a challenge. We even had one teacher that brought in a firefighter, and they talked about how they can come up with an app that could show exposure when firefighters are battling fires. How much exposure have they had to certain chemicals? What could they do to build an app to kind of help expedite that process as far as learning that exposure? We had another school that kind of did theirs more school based, and another one did a challenge because it was the pandemic that hit, talking about access to food. How can they get that? Utilizing an app. So those are just some ideas, and this can be used pretty much in any class, whatever challenge that you posed. How can an app be used to solve that challenge? And that could be used in any subject matter. And this is just kind of the design process. You can brainstorm, plan, evaluate, and so on and so forth. Notice up here, you can even build these little drop-down menus. That takes a lot of layering and some animation. So that might be a little bit challenging, but we can certainly show you how to do that. So I'm actually going to go back to the home page. And again, you'll notice these icons, they take me back to different areas. Up here in my little logo for Mr. Woodtech, I can click on that and it takes me back to my home. Most students use just the home icon that they use up there to take them back to their home page. And again, so it's just linking to different areas within the site. So again, setup, and we'll go over this here after a little while, but when we open up our Google Slides, it's going to be 6 by 10 inches. That's going to be the setup that I discussed and how it would show up on your phone. So let me go ahead and move on from that. We'll talk about using shapes and icons as buttons and then layering those and linking them to create a menu. And again, what can the app do that a simple website cannot? Incorporate camera, microphone, audio, voice command. Think about location and GPS, notifications, and possibly even using a VR headset. To set that up, that simulated VR, you'll have to actually create a secondary Google slide, and you'll publish that one and then use that link and link it right in. So for example, we have a culinary arts program. So let's say I want to see some of their food and put on my headset. You might have within the app that would say, please insert your phone into the headset in your VR viewer and then click here. So I'm going to click on this and it's going to take you to our published link. And basically I just took 2 images, duplicated them, I cropped them to this rounded rectangular shape. I added this line and triangle just to kind of make it look like I'm in that VR experience. So that's kind of how you can make it look like it's doing that. I'm going to come back over here and we'll move on. And again, it's all creating the drop down that's animation and linking as well. But what I wanted to share here are some coding resources as far as Google is concerned. So there's Google's Grasshopper, where it has lessons that you can move along with your programming. There's Google's Computer Science First, all sorts of built-in lesson plans within there. Of course, you've probably heard about code.org. There is also Solo Learn that has free lessons in there on how to code. But even if you were just getting started with CSFirst, when you get to their page, you can say, I'm a student, I'm a teacher. You can create a class in there and you can start adding curriculum for students to start learning to code. Those are a few resources that I wanted to share there. Another thing that could be useful for students is are these websites here. Pexels and Pixabay are excellent resources for images and icons. Pixabay has the vector graphics and the illustrations that students may need. Pexels is mostly video and images, but these are all free, so you don't have to worry about those copyright infringements. In addition, within Google Slides, you can go to add-ons and get add-ons and then add insert icons, and they have tons of icons that you can color to whatever you want. So those would be useful as well. And you'll notice that these images are both linked to those sites. And again, I mentioned some of the robots. We had the MeBot if you wanted to look that up, but I believe that works mostly with Apple products. But the Sphero and these Edison robots, they work with the Chromebook. You can program Edison robots using EdBlocks, EdScratch, and EdPy. And basically, those are 3 different levels of programming. It just depends on how complex you want to get. EdBlocks is just dragging the block programming. You can get into EdScratch and then EdPy where you're actually writing your own code. The Sphero bots are these robot balls that you can program. You can take them through mazes. We've had classes who would set up a maze and then they would write a program to complete the maze, and then they would try to do it manually and see which one was faster. And most of the time, the programmed one was faster, of course. So just another example of challenge-based learning. So if I were to pose this to maybe teachers in a professional development class, I would say our big idea is our school and how can we help teachers get personalized professional development. So develop an app that allows teachers to access and sign up for personalized professional development. So something simple like that, but again, it could be content based on your subject area. So let me go back to my main menu and we will get started on this process. So we are going to, I'm going to head over here to my Google Drive and simply go to New, and we're going to create a new Google slide. So we're going to get started on creating our first app prototype. So I'm going to go ahead and title this my sample app prototype. And as I mentioned, we want to change that setup. So I'm going to go to File. And I'm going to come down to Page Setup. And right now it's set to this widescreen. We're going to hit this little drop down caret, go to Custom. Then you want to make sure this says inches over here. There's a drop down. You got centimeters, points, and pixels. So we want inches, and we're going to go 6 by 10, and we're going to apply that. And so now you can see that this area has changed. I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of these text boxes for now as we start to work on our app prototype. And so one thing, if you want, you can just kind of duplicate slides. If you just want to work from a blank slate, that's kind of what I do. I just right click over here, duplicate slides, and get a few going that are blank. So now we want to think about your color scheme for your app prototype. So that's one thing you want to talk to students about. You want to make sure that it's an attractive color scheme, maybe sticking to no more than 3 different colors to not make it too loud and distracting. So if you want to change that background, you can simply right click and change background. You can, right from your toolbar, you can see where it says background and click change background there. You can make the background an image. The nice thing about that is it basically locks that image as your background, but you got to worry about it fitting and stretching because we've already changed the dimensions of this, so that kind of might mess that up. So I'm just going to stick with a color transparency, and I'm just going to go ahead and choose this dark blue as my background. And let's move that to the first one. So some of you may want to do that from the start and then start to duplicate each slide. I'm going to go back here, change this background as well. Go to blue, So again, you may want to, before you start duplicating any of those slides, I'm just going to go ahead and delete these. Change that background, duplicate, and so on and so forth. So the next thing is we want to start thinking about our home page. What do we want that home page to look like? When somebody opens up the app, what do you want them to see? Usually you have some sort of menu, or you might have some kind of image. So the one thing that you can do is, again, I mentioned adding those icons. I'm going to close this over to the right. If you go to add-ons and get add-ons, wait for this to load. And in the search area, if you just put insert, you can see I didn't even hardly finish it. Insert icons for slides, and you would choose that. You can see mine already says that it is installed. So I'm going to go back in here, and I'm going to go insert icons for slides, and the bump over, it says open sidebar to select icons. So I'm going to click that, and we'll let that load up. And you can see all of the different icons that we have in here. And it's starting off with that color of yellow. So I'm actually just going to turn these down here, and we're going to set them to these black icons. So, oops, it's already adding that one in. So it's as simple as that. You click it. But I'm going to search for home. And I'm actually thinking with this blue background, I'm probably going to need to go with a lighter color. So I might even do this yellow, but then I'm getting close to Michigan colors, and I do not want to do that. So let's stick with white. So I have my home button, and I'm going to add that by just simply clicking it. And then I'm going to resize this. And you could put that in the upper corner. So that could be your home button for people to get back to their home page. But again, you may want to put that on your slides later on, not necessarily on the first one, since you are already on the home page. But again, these are all different icons that you can choose from. So if you're thinking of some kind of restaurant app, you might instead use this knife and fork as an icon. But however you decide to set it up is up to you. If you prefer to use buttons, you can use buttons. And to do that, we just take a shape. And I like to use the rounded rectangle. So I'm going to click that. And if you hold the shift button while you are dragging this size, it's going to size it to a perfect square just by holding the shift button. Then I'm going to release. And here's my button. Now notice as you drag these around, and I'm not sure how familiar some of you guys are with working with these Google tools, but when you're building these, you can see that red line is showing that I'm aligned and center with that fork and knife right now. But there's also another way to do this, and I'm going to just copy this and Control V to paste. And I just did it twice. So one thing I could do with these three shapes down here, if I wanted to do this quickly, I can draw this box around it so they are all highlighted, go up to my arrange, and I can go to align, and you can see you've got center, but I want it to be middle horizontal here. So now that has centered those. But now you can see this one's off a little bit. It's closer to this box than this one. So I'm going to go back to arrange while it's highlighted. And you can see where it says distribute. I'm going to distribute this horizontally. And now it's made them equally apart from one another. So that's just a quick way to get those lined up, is using that arrange menu. It's a pretty nice feature. So then the next thing is, the main thing of building an app prototype is linking. Just linking items to other areas in your prototype. So for example, I'm going to click this box, and then I'm going to right click, and I'm going to click link. Or if you just select the box up here in your toolbar, you can also click link. So normally we end up pasting URL links in there and you hit apply. But in this case, we're going to choose slides in the presentation. So I might say that this button's going to go down to slide 3, and I'm going to hit apply. So I'm going to come down to slide 3 right now, and I'm just, for the sake of this app, going to add a hamburger, because if we're sticking with that restaurant theme of an app, maybe this is our hamburger menu. And I'm just going to throw this image in here just so it's an identifiable icon for that page. Let's go back up to our first page, and I'm going to hit present. So this first button here should be linked to slide 3 to show that hamburger. And there it is. But then if you recall, I mentioned having that home button. So let's copy that. And we're going to paste it over here. And so then this home button, I'm going to get rid of my icons right now. Let's delete this one. We don't need that. And we are going to insert link again, slides and presentation, and we're going to take that one back to the first slide. So now we have our home button. So again, if I were to present from that first slide, I click on this first button, takes me to my hamburger page, click on my home button, I'm back to my first page. One other thing, when you are adding shapes, I can double click this, and now I can add text in there. And you can see it's not fitting, so we are going to reduce the size of that till it fits. I'm going to bold, and I'm going to center. So now we have where it says hamburgers in there. So now you're adding text to your shapes. And even if I wanted to, I could change the color of that text. If I wanted to add a little bit more color, I could do that. You can make it red. And now when I hit present, you can see that's changed. Or one other thing you can do, if you don't want to use text, again, you could use the icons, or you can start layering some of your images. So I'm going to go back to my insert icons, open my sidebar. Again, I have these as white icons right now. And then I'm going to search for food again. I think we had a fish on there. We're going to go fish. I'm sorry, let's delete that for a second. We're going to change the color now. So maybe I'm going to go red on these icons. Now I'm going to add that fish. And I'm going to resize that. And you can layer them to fit inside your button. Okay, so now I have a shape on top of a shape. So what I can do then here is just link that fish. And now I might link this to slide 2 and hit apply. And I'm going to come over to slide 2. And we're going to change this back to white so we can see it. We're going to add our fish icon. Since this would potentially be our fish menu. And I'm going to go here. We're going to duplicate that. And even though I copy and pasted that home button, you can see it is still linked to slide number 1. So I don't have to re-add that link. So now when I present, I can go to hamburgers. I can go back to my home. I can go to my fish menu. I can go back to my home. So again, it's all about linking these items and these shapes to get to where you want to be. And of course, all the other Google Slides things and the items in the toolbar all apply. So here I might throw in some extra large text here. Let's just do, let's say 30 and say, call it my restaurant app. I can center that. But again, sometimes I like to do bars and shapes with bars. So I'm going to take and do a rectangle. I'm going to throw this in here. And even though I'm overlapping on the edges, that's okay because it's not going to show up when you hit present. But now I'm going to double click this. Now I'm going to make this, we'll say a 60. And we'll just call it my restaurant. I'm going to highlight that, center it, boldface. That's probably got to go a little bit smaller. Let's decrease that in size. I'm going to change that font. Let's say we'll go to the red. And now when I hit present, and a lot of times the shapes, they'll come already outlined. So I like to actually take them and make that outline transparent and get rid of that. So now it looks like it's edge to edge. So now I'm going to go ahead and present. And now you can see at the top I have kind of more of a banner that shows in its place. So again, it's utilizing those shapes, double clicking on them. You can type your font within that. You have your icons, linking them to other areas of the site. So one other thing I wanted to note, let me look at my notes over here, make sure I'm hitting on everything I need to hit on. Because obviously the app can be as intricate as the student wants to make it by linking as many pages as they want as far as moving through the app. But again, you want to have them keep in mind, would there be like a built-in calendar in the app where people could go to maybe make reservations for this restaurant? So they could insert an image of a calendar just to kind of make it look like that. So obviously it's not going to have a full functionality of an app, but it's going to feel like it. And it's all about prototyping and creation. So let's see, we got linking, adding icons, background. Okay, so the one other thing I wanted to show you is how did we make this VR experience? So I'm going to come down here to this area, and it doesn't matter, it could be a shape, it could be text. So I'm just going to go ahead and put in some text and put VR experience in here. Highlight that, boldface it. Let's make it some white text. And I'm going to make this a little bit larger just so you see it. And now, as I mentioned, you need to open up a new Google Slide. And the reason being is because obviously when you go to put your phone into your VR viewer, you put it in sideways. So the one thing that you can't do, at least from my knowledge, you can't do is change the dimension of separate slides within your Google Slide. So that's why I'm linking it to an outside one. I think once you change that file page setup, it's going to stay at that 6x10. But now we want it to go back to 10x6 because we are rotating the phone as if we're putting it into that viewer. So I'm just going to come over here, go to new Google Slides, and I'll let that load. I'm going to get rid of these text boxes. And I'm going to change this background. And I'm going to choose that color to black. So remember, there's all sorts of areas where you can change your background. You can right click. It's all about preference. You can go to background here. You could go to format. And let's see, where is it? No, it's file. I thought there was another place. Could have swore there was another place from the drop down. Thought there were 3 places that you could actually. Yes, it's under slide, change background. So there's 3 places you could actually change your background color. I just like to do the right click. It's a little faster for me. So up at the top here, I'm just going to put VR, and that's it. So then I had mentioned using Pexels or Pixabay. So if you recall, I had this image here. This is the final version, but we're just going to show you the setup. So if I went to Pexels, I'm going to open this up, search for food, and we've got this nice picture here of some food. So we're going to go ahead and get that free download. I'm going to come back over to this VR experience, insert, and then I'm going to go image, upload from computer. Some of you might already have it in your drive or your photos, where you want to just take a picture. You can use your camera. So I'm going to upload from computer. And here's my image of some food. And again, I'm going to hold down the shift button. I'm going to size this so it's about the size that I need it. I'm going to drag it down to the center of the page here until that red line appears, and then you know you are centered from top to bottom. And now I'm going to crop this image. So I'm going to go to the crop icon and hit that little drop down caret, and you can crop that to a shape. And like I said, I'm going to use the rounded rectangle. And I'm going to click out of that. And now you can see that it has cropped that to that shape. So now I'm simply going to select it, right click, or you can Control C. And I'm going to Control V. So that's copy commands. Copy Control C, paste Control V. And remember I talked about that distribute. So I'm going to draw this box so that it highlights both of them. I'm going to go to arrange. I'm going to make sure that these are aligned in the middle, which looks like they are. And it must already be distributed. It's because I only have 2 of them, but I want it to be about as close as I can be to the center there. So now I have this, and most VRs then have that white line. So basically just going to go here and select a line. And I'm just going to try to draw that right down the middle. Okay. And we are going to, if you click the line, then you can make it thicker, so however thick you want that. So I'm going to go with the 3. And I'm going to make sure my line color is white. And now I have my line. So now I should be able to select all 3 and distribute these because there's more than 2 items. So I'm going to distribute these horizontally. And you can see it moved that line right into the middle in between those. And then last but not least, and I might have to bump that down a little bit. I just put a little triangle because I'm trying to think of what that looks like. So I'm going to make my triangle. And I'm going to go format. Let's see, format options. Size and rotation. And I'm going to turn this. I'm going to flip it. I'm going to flip it again. And now I'm upside down. So again, if you select a shape, you go to format, format options. It's easier for me than taking and grabbing that and kind of rotate it around and getting it perfect. So I just went to that 180-degree turn and kept the shape that it was. So I'm just going to bring this over and get that aligned with the top of that. So now I have my VR image. So when I present that, kind of looks like what it would look like when you put your viewer on. So let me escape out of that. And you'll notice even in the other one at the bottom, I put insert your phone into your viewer because that's what it would look like on the phone until you inserted it, and then you have it in, and then of course it looks like that true virtual experience. So then the next thing I need to do, and this would be one of the final steps if you're going to go VR, is I need to publish this to the web. So I'm going to go to File, Publish, and then I'm just going to set it up every minute that the slides advance because it's basically just going to stay on that one slide. Start the slideshow as soon as the player loads, restart it after the last slide. I'm going to hit Publish. I'm going to hit OK. And now it's going to give me this link that I can copy. So it's already highlighted. So I'm going to go Control C to copy that. Come back over to my sample app prototype. And this text, I said I was going to link that. So I'm just going to highlight that text, hit my link button. And now this time I'm going outside of the slide. So I'm going to go Control V. And I'm going to apply. So now I can go ahead and actually close these other VR experiences that I have up in these tabs that you can see that are open. I'll get rid of pixels. And when I present this, if I want to go to our restaurant virtual reality experience, I'm going to click this. And it takes us right to that published image to where we're inserting it into our viewer. So that's how you kind of create that VR experience. But again, creating your app itself is all about just linking items to different areas in your app prototype and thinking about a challenge that the students could be faced that they have to solve and thinking about what can an app do, because apps make life easier. There's so many things that we use apps for, whether it's shopping, getting Kroger delivered to us. And I use that quite often. We have our workout apps that we use, jogging apps, bicycle apps that utilize GPS. So there's so many things, banking apps. So think about any area within your class, think about a project, a challenge that you want to pose to students, and what kind of app could they build that could solve that challenge. And then they simply use Google Slides to develop that app prototype. And they really did get excited about the showcase. So even if you just had an app showcase within your class, instead of having them present in front of the whole entire class, what we did, we usually had teams of 2 that worked on an app. And so let's say you have 20 students in the class, you had 10 presenting. They're set up in each individual areas of the room. And then the other 10 students basically rotate around and listen to the pitches. So that is the second part of the app prototype showcase, is the students had to be able to pitch their app, kind of almost like a Shark Tank, and show them what their app does. And then we had the other students basically provide feedback, and we would just rotate around. So we'd give the students 7 minutes to pitch their app, and then we would rotate to the next group. Now, you might not get all 10 done if that's how many students you have in one day, but it's kind of a way to break it up, and the students really enjoyed it. By the time that they finished and got to their last pitch, it was pretty much perfect. They were able to pitch that with ease and with comfort. But if you have any questions, please reach out to me. Let me jump back over to my website, Mr. Wood Tech. If you look or hover over the professional development, I've presented before at the Google Summit. I've done a few other things there, like redesigning your lessons using Google Drawings. I believe I did digital portfolios there, but there's all sorts of things that I've just housed on this website for our teachers, but hopefully anybody that's tuned in today could find something there that's helpful. But you'll see I have this Google slide presentation right here. I'm going to go ahead and add this video as well. There's also another site out there that could be used. I don't have the time to share that today, but it's called the Envision site. but the free version, the last I know, allowed you to do one project, but it's almost the same thing. You're creating little hotspots on what would look like an app, which are their links, and those hotspots just take you to different areas. But to be able to do as many as you want, you can use Google Sites to do this. So I hope you guys found this helpful. If you need to reach out, let me come back over here. Let's go to my final page here. You can get a hold of me at travis.wood@swcsd.us. Again, I hope you found this useful, and I hope your kids have fun with it. I hope they build some pretty cool apps. And I guess that's it. Happy prototyping. Thanks for stopping in.